Before we begin, thank you very much to Aaron B for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for your support. Always appreciated. I've got a few in the bank right now for shoutouts. I don't know why so many people felt they needed to be nice to me right now, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much for the support. I'm going to keep making these for as long as you guys are supporting me, so we're going to keep going. We got to hit 1,500, and we're like a week. Man, I think we're like a week away from 4 years of daily content now. Kind of crazy to think about. So, let us begin with this. So, I've had a debate in my head for a while now that I haven't really had the chance to explore. We're going to do it right now. And that is, what Transformer line had the best Wave 1? So, first impressions are a major thing. You want to make sure you come off great when you're introducing something for the first time. So, Wave 1 is usually a set of toys that they put a lot of effort into, but we've also seen where Wave 1s can be kind of rushed feeling, so it's a little bit of a mixed bag, which I guess just stands to reason. But I was kind of boiling this down in my head. What toy line had the best introduction? Like, literally, like, nothing wrong with it. Everything was perfect. We're not going to get perfect, but we'll check it out. Now, I'm going to disqualify a few here because I want full lines, you know. I can't really judge alternators as having the best Wave 1. Its first wave was one toy. Technically two. But I can't judge it based on that, you know. So I'm looking for something that has like a full small, medium, and large size class at the very least. So like a Scout, a Deluxe, a Voyager, a Leader, whatever. So Transformers Classics, unfortunately, I'm going to leave out. This one I don't think is fair. Classics was designed to be just bangers. It's basically an all-star cast. All four of the first wave deluxes are good toys. Rodimus is a little middling, but at the time, yeah, it was still pretty solid. And the rest of those, I think, are still pretty good toys. The Voyagers, Megatron and Optimus, are still very good toys. But that's basically the end of Wave 1. You know, there's no Ultras, there's no Leaders, and if we look at anything smaller, it's all leftovers from Cybertron. It's Legends of Cybertron toys that have been repainted, or it's mini-cons they didn't have the chance to release in Cybertron as planned. So unfortunately, this one is hard to judge. This one is very hard to judge. I don't think it counts just because I don't think it has enough of its own unique stuff. And it doesn't help that the mini-cons they released were very hit and miss. There's only a few good ones in there. A lot of them are actually kind of on the bad side, so I can't really give it too much credit. But we can move on. So what about Transformers Prime? So Prime had a very robust Wave 1. There's a ton of toys in that line, especially if you include the Cyberverse stuff. I'm not going to include Cyberverse in this because it's not fair to include because it's a mini line. The same reason like movie lines all had like sub lines for other things. I'm not going to include those either. We're going to stick with the main line stuff, which would mean like your standard deluxes. So Bumblebee, Cliffjumper, Wheeljack, and Soundwave. Now, the Soundwave is great. The Wheeljack is great. It's the other two that hold this back. That Bumblebee was never a great figure. I think the Automorph especially held it back a lot because that's the reason why its proportions are so kind of janked up. And the Automorph didn't quite work for a lot of people. And then the Cliffjumper is just not a great figure. Now, keep in mind, some of this is colored by the fact that first edition is a thing. And first edition is not Wave 1. That was a specialty line that came out as its own thing, and this is the standard main line, and that's what we have to judge. So the deluxes are 50-50, and then the Voyagers are Optimus and Megatron. The Megatron, I think, is fine. The Optimus, I think, is fine. Again, Optimus is colored by the fact that there's a far superior one in first edition, and this is when they got pretty gimmick laden with those Voyagers. This is when the era of like the translucent forearms, because they wanted the light up gimmick to illuminate the Transformer themselves. Yeah, it's a weird Wave 1, but it's not one I would consider one of the best. What about the all heralded Beast Wars? So this is a better toy line than most give it credit for, so we're going to go over that one too. Your Wave 1 and Deluxe in your basics, yeah, you're looking at Iguanus, Rat Trap, Razor Beast, and Pterosaur. Nothing is inherently wrong with any of those figures, except for the fact that they are all the Automorph Flip Change toys, meaning they all kind of have this same feeling to them. But for kids who just want like a quick snap transformation, okay, they weren't bad. And they're not like modern one-step changers where like they just do the transformation and that's their entire trick. That's all they do. These had articulation to them. These had weapon accessories to them. So there is substantially more to this run than there was later on, the ones that are done later on. Give it credit for that. For deluxes, you got Dinobot, Tarantulas, and Waspinator. Very Predacon heavy. We add Cheetor in later, 1.5. I would include the 1.5 as wave 1. It's not a bad starting wave. The only one I have a little bit of issue with, ironically, is the Waspinator. It's a little bit weaker than the others, a little bit more kibble-laden because of all the bug parts. It really comes down to, were your legs tight? Was a transformation point for your legs tight? Polar Claws are really good start in wave 1. Scorponok not as much. It's a surprisingly simple toy for the price point and the size. And then you get into like the Ultras, which are Megatron and Optimus Primal, both good toys. But this is being held back just a little bit. A little repetition in the basics and maybe a little bit of jank. We haven't quite figured out the engineering in the deluxes. Overall, still a good toy line, still a good wave 1. I don't think it's up there with the best, though. Maybe like a low top 5. Well, we'll do something a little bit more modern. We're going to go to Siege now. And the deluxes with Siege include Sideswipe, Cog, Hound, and Skytread. I don't really have an issue with any of those figures. Keeping in mind, Cog was a weaponizer and basically works the same way G1 Cog worked. I really don't find any issue with that toy. And Skytread, yeah, his repaint had issues, but the first run I thought went over fine. He looked and felt really good as a figure. The Optimus and Megatron were both good. We got tired of that Megatron, but on the first run, it's fine. Leader class is a little bit iffier. Really depends on how you deal with Shockwave and if you're okay with that extra armor being a thing, bulking out his price point. I'm fine with it. And the Magnus, I could take or leave. The Magnus, it took a long time for me to warm up on that mold and had to become Nova Prime to do it. Let's see. But what holds Siege back is that it really didn't know what to do with its smaller size classes. The Micromasters are okay, except they got very repetitive and they really didn't improve enough over the originals. And the Battlemasters were just kind of like whatever releases, you know? I don't think anyone was terribly thrilled by the Battlemasters. So Siege is good, but it gets held back again by a little bit. I could throw Armada in here. We'll throw Armada in here just to be fair. For you 2000s kids, we're going to throw this one in too. I don't have an issue with the Wave 1 mini-cons. Street action, land military, air defense. You got 3 very different experiences with them. You got a combining weapon, a combining robot, and then you also got individual missile firing toys that were just good. They're just good little transformers. And this, and this all gives you this great variety. Here's 3 jets, here's 3 here's 3 military vehicles. Here's 3 weird ones. Here's a scooter, a skateboard, and a bicycle. Didn't think we'd ever see a transforming bicycle. We figured it out. So good there. Deluxe class, Demolisher, Cyclonus, Hotshot. We're not going to talk about which one's holding this wave back. Demolisher. I'm kidding. I'm not going to take this as another excuse to jab at Hotshot. Red Alert and Starscream is a decent wave 1 there as well. Gigacon. There's only 1 per wave. Megatron's decent. Optimus is decent. This is an iffy one. This could be your top. Aside from like that Hotshot, none of these are like egregiously bad toys. And if you like what Armada was going for, working in kid-friendly gimmicks while still presenting a, somewhat, like an acceptable action figure, then you've got something. Then you are working with something. This one could be high depending on what your preference is. My preferences lean toward good action figures that happen to have gimmicks rather than good gimmicks with action figures built around them. So Armada, we've just kind of established for a long time now, is not a line for me, but a lot of people are nostalgic for it. So we'll include that there. We could talk Titan's Return. This is a toy line I have talked about loving a lot. If we look through here, we're getting the Titan Masters themselves, the individual ones. I don't think we're anything to write home about. They're basically there to be replacement heads. If you lost a head on one of these, especially a kid who doesn't really care what the heads are, you can just go to a store, drop $5, you get this little weapon accessory for the toy, and a new head for it. So, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm going to look at the deluxe classes here, which is Blur, Hardhead, Scourge, and Skull Smasher, or Skull Cruncher. All of those are fine toys. Blur's color scheme was awful. They desperately needed the light blue on that boy. Skull Smasher I like too, but he's a little bit weak, only because he doesn't stand up too well. There's not enough on the inner sides of his legs for him to pose on. The Galvatron is not great. I think that Galvatron, we kind of all agree, is not a really good Galvatron figure. The Sentinel Prime's okay. The color scheme, I think, is a little bit too garish. I like that toy way better when it became Astro Train in the next wave. And then Twin Cast and Blaster for the leader. And then, the Power Master Optimus Prime. That's not a bad leader class, but for as much as I love Titan's Return and what it eventually became, it is not a strong Wave 1, especially the Legends class being a wheelie, which is fine. The wheelie was fine. But then Rewind and Stripes, those are both big data slug transformers for Blaster, which meant on their own, they didn't have a whole lot of play to them. Like, they worked, tank mode into Rewind. That helps. But it really just didn't feel like they were, like, intentionally good Transformers. They just felt like they were serving a need. If we take really, really modern, we can go to the current line of Age of the Prime, see how it's doing. So, I think the first wave is okay. But Solus has had mixed receptions. There's some engineering on Solus I really wish they had done something better with. And then Air Raid and Slingshot, they're aerial bots. They feel very samey no matter what you do with them. Voyager-wise, I like Prima and I like Red Alert. It pains me that Red Alert shelf warms so much because I do think that's a really good toy. I do think that it's a really good figure. Wave 1 is really propped up by a very solid leader class. G2 Grimlock is already cool because that's a great mold. And then you throw in Megatronus, who I'm going to tell you right now is somewhere on my top 10 of the year list. Fantastic toy. Fantastic toys. Yeah. Deluxe first wave is just a little bare. It's a little bare. I need a little bit more meat on my bones here. I got two toys that feel very much the same. And once I have Silverbolt. Once I got Silverbolt, these two became an arm and a leg and are probably never going to leave arm and leg. I'm being completely honest there. Solus is okay at best, and then Waspinator is just kind of left over from Wave 1. It's cool that we got it, but we've seen it and done it before. So, yeah, it's actually got a pretty weak Wave 1, honestly. It's actually pretty weak. Then we need to go back further again. Let's be fair to the movie lines, shall we? I tend to tell people I liked Dark of the Moon's toy line better than most of them, because it offered some cleaner transformations and engineering than past lines. So if we take a look at Wave 1, Wave 1 is weirdly stacked because it's Bumblebee, Crankcase, Ratchet, Roadbuster, Skids, and Starscream. That's a lot for a Wave 1. The Starscream we know is good because they upsized it to become a Voyager later on in Studio Series. It's very well engineered. The Roadbuster is I prefer the Human Alliance. I like that one a little bit better. The Ratchet is good. The Skids, I would even defend. I would defend the Bumblebee. The Skids is good. I would defend that Skids toy, not the character, because it is far more simply engineered than his previous attempt. He's much more pleasant to transform, even if he's not pleasant to look at. It's Crankcase that holds it back. Crankcase is just kind of meh. He's just kind of like, I'm a robot hiding inside this SUV. And that's Not my preference. I thought we got away from that after Revenge of the Fallen. Obviously, we didn't. The Voyager wave is dead solid, though. I like that Optimus. It's a weird Optimus, but it's not bad. The Ironhide was good. It's a completely new tooling. That Megatron. I think we all agree that Megatron is top tier. We all agree that Megatron is top tier. And then the leader, Sentinel Prime, is fine. And then Bumblebee is a weird one. And I like the novelty of just having like a giant car transformer. I don't think every huge transformer toy needs to be a space shuttle or a city, you know? But Bumblebee, it's a good toy, but it felt odd. It felt odd. So I tend to like this toy line better. But again, like a lot of these toy lines, the better toys came later in the run. Here's one that was left field for me. Energon has a surprisingly good Wave 1. So at the smaller classes, you got Battle Ravage, the Energon Saber, Sky Blast, and Strong Arm. I have no problem with any of these. They are very, very good toys on their own. Yeah, and then into the deluxes, Hotshot Inferno, and then Rapid Run replaced eventually by Starscream. We know my grievances. I think of all the Hotshot toys, Energon's is the worst. So this hurts this lineup quite a bit. That Starscream's doing a lot of lifting, though. That's a really good Starscream. And Inferno's really good, too. The Mega Class, which would be Voyager today, Ironhide, and Treadbolt. Treadbolt replaced by Jetfire eventually. I'm a little bit lukewarm on that wave, that part of the wave. Ironhide is better than people give it credit for. But that Jetfire, I do think, is not as satisfying as it should be. So, these two together, meh. I'm kind of middling on that. Yeah, and the repaint of Tidal Wave was cool. We all liked that repaint. The Scorponok is a really strong one for Wave 1. But Ultra Magnus, being part of that first half wave, it's so weird. Because that thing was impossible to find in the US and shelf-warmed in the UK. Which means it's still expensive for me to get my hands on one. And then, of course, the only Wave 1 leader was Optimus. It's a surprisingly good lineup. Now, it is being held back tremendously here. I think the Megas need to do a little bit more lifting. You know, I wish they'd been just like a little bit cleaner. Especially that Ironhide, the one thing I will give you is way too bulky. It's way too bulky. There's too much mass left over in bad spots on that toy. But otherwise, I think it's a better toy than most realize. And then yeah, like the rest of it's okay. The rest of it's fine. It's just it's being hurt by a couple of toys that really needed a little bit more development time. Okay, let's get into some of the lines that everyone agrees are really, really good. And we'll see how they fared. Animated. So, animated Wave 1 was Bumblebee, Lockdown, Cybertron Mode, Optimus Prime, and Prowl. There is nothing wrong with this deluxe wave whatsoever. This is a fire Wave 1. All those toys are really, really good. We go down, we have Bulkhead, Cybertron Mode, Megatron, and Starscream. This is where I start getting a little bit iffy. I'm not huge on that Starscream mold. I think the Automorph on that toy actually hurt it rather than helping it. The Bulkhead is fine. The Bulkhead's actually pretty good. We're just going to get a better one down the road. And I'd say the same about the Megatron. I've always been kind of iffy on that Cybertron Mode Megatron. I'm not huge on how it came out and functions as an actual robot toy. Vehicle mode's fine. Don't get me wrong. Spaceship mode's cool. Just not really happy with how the robot turned out. That's the iffy part. Isn't it wild that there's no it's a deluxe Optimus Prime is the first in the wave, and we have to wait for the proper one in Wave 2. It's so weird. Now, Leader Class Wave 1 Bulkhead, way better toy. That's a fantastic figure. And then the Leader Class Megatron, also better toy. Granted, probably more simplistic than the Voyager, but just looks a lot better and plays better in my opinion. Also, you got the Headmaster thrown in with Bulkhead. That helps a lot. It's really like Wave 1 here is only held down by the Voyagers just being a little bit half-baked and most of them being superfluous compared to the leaders that were in Wave 1. I know, it's kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame. It's like The deluxes are amazing. The Voyagers are just kind of there for the most part. Okay, how about the '07 movie line? So this line has so many toys that came out at the same time. I'm ignoring Real Gear. I'm ignoring the Legends class toys. We're gonna stick with the main size classes here. And we're not gonna do wave 1 because it's just a preview wave. It's technically wave 0 for being really fair here. So your proper wave 1 was Barricade, Brawl, Bumblebee, Jazz, Scorponok, and Wreckage. Wreckage probably being the best one out of those 5, 6. Though the Brawl is also really good if you don't accidentally break his inner gears. You can do that if you ignore the Automorph. The classic Chimera Bumblebee had break issues. Jazz has those thin little arms. Yeah, there's some strong figures in there, but I don't think it's the strongest wave 1. There's a few figures in there that are kind of iffy. For the Voyagers, Blackout and Ratchet. Blackout's decent. Blackout is a decent figure. I liked that toy when it came out. The Ratchet's great. I really liked movie Ratchet's toy. I think it's because it felt like a lost Cybertron toy, because like the movie complexity hadn't hurt it yet. And the Optimus Prime is actually a really solid and fun figure. I picked up the Nightwatch Optimus version of that just recently. Earlier this year, I think I picked that up, because the toy itself is really, really solid. And I kind of miss that engineering style of, it's close enough to how it looked in the movie. I think once they had to dedicate themselves to getting it movie accurate, that's when the toy started to suffer a lot. Yeah, so that one was rough. That one was rough. It's a good first wave. It's a good first wave. There's only a few things holding it back, but it's still high up there. Now, this is the part where everyone thinks that TJOmega is going to bring up Cybertron and just how great and unbeatable its Wave 1 is. I am capable of being objective. On the internet, I know. So, we're going to look at Scout Class, Wave 1, Overhaul, Ransack, Scattershot. Those are all fairly decent. Scattershot, because he got, more complex gimmickry, because he had the pressure fire missiles and he had a flip-out gimmick, a spring-loaded gimmick, meant his budget got cut a little bit. He didn't have the articulation below the waist that I would want. Likewise, Overhaul had articulation above the waist missing. His arms are terrible, and I think hurt that toy tremendously. Also, I was never a fan of the color scheme on that. I don't know why his windows are bright orange, other than desperately trying to make some kind of Roadbuster homage out of him. We go up to the deluxe class: Hotshot, Dirt Boss, Landmine, Thundercracker. 3 of those toys are dead solid, and I think some of the best in that line. And then we have that Thundercracker, which on paper is fine. He's mostly just not hitting the mark for me because of an engineering flaw. Just that it's that left arm, man. It's how that left arm just has no ability to connect or peg in anywhere. And having a big heavy missile launcher on it kind of hurts that. The toy is okay. It just suffers from an engineering flaw I don't think they ever really accounted for or adjusted. So that hurts that. Crumple Zone and Vector Prime are both really good toys. Vector is just hurt by the fact that he's, the stark white and brown Hasbro version. If they'd gone with the Galaxy Force colors, he would have been far more appealing. Jetfire and Scourge. Scourge is articulation limited, which is a shame because it's such a cool design. Still a cool dragon toy, don't get me wrong. Still love mine. That Jetfire, though, that Jetfire's transformation is magical. That's one of those vehicle modes where, it's hard to pick out the robot. It's just so smooth. It's a very rare Jet has no underbelly kibble transformation. We need to figure out how to do that more often. And then, yeah, there's nothing bad to be said about the Megatron and Optimus Prime. These are 2 of the best toys ever. Just period. So it's really just bad paint jobs on Vector Prime and some articulation limiting that actually hurts Wave 1 of this line. And then it comes down to that Thundercracker being a little, having a flaw too. That's a shame. I still call it one of the better Wave 1s. I might put it top 3. But if I'm being completely objective, there are flaws to it. That said, I poked around. Now, we could continue this. This is already too long. This video is already too long. You shouldn't still be watching this video. I should have ended it like 5 minutes ago. But I could have gone on a lot longer. This is barely the surface of any Transformer line. And you'll note I left out G1 because it's really not fair. It's really not fair to throw that in. There's a million toys in Wave 1 of that line. And they weren't doing proper waves at the time. That's the thing. We wanted to keep it into the era of the waves. But if we're doing that, through all the ones that I browsed through, I could have missed one or two here that would have competed. But really, I don't think you beat this. The one that I found the most favorable, the one I found the least amount of flaws with, Robots in Disguise 2001. So let's look at this just for example. So your basics were the Spy Changers. And you go, well, those are so simple toys. Yeah, but you got 2 of them in one package for $5. That's pretty good. And frankly, they look pretty cool. They actually look pretty cool. I love how Crosswise looks. Crosswise is an amazing looking toy. And it's a clear plastic toy. Imagine me saying that. But your Deluxe Wave 1 is Prowl, Sideburn, and X-Brawn. Those are all good toys. Now, Sideburn I never want to transform again, but I can't deny that it looks good in vehicle mode, plays good in robot mode. Okay, I will give it all that credit in the world. Prowl is fantastic. X-Brawn is fantastic. Like, those are dead solid toys. The Mega Class. Darkscream, Gasgunk, and Slapper. So, aside from Gasgunk, who basically looks no different than Stink Bomb from Transmetal 2, you've got 3 very solid basics in superior color schemes than they originally came out with. Slapper looks way better than Transmetal 2 Spitor, and then Gasgunk looks way better than Night Glider. They just did a drastically better job on all 2 of those 3. Basically, they didn't have to do anything to Stink Bomb, did they? He looks like a skunk. There's only so many things you can do to repaint a skunk. Your Ultra Class was Megatron, and we got the good US version of that Megatron with all 10 modes intact. So we actually got a better Megatron than Japan did. That's awesome in and of itself. And then your Wave 1 of the Super Class is basically the only Wave 1 leaders they had the only leader wave they had for the entire run, and they didn't need anything else. It's for Optimus and Ultra Magnus at the same time. Magnus, you can make some iffy things about the individual robot mode, and like it's a part former, it's kind of hollow in parts, it's very awkward, but it's still a cool looking toy. I'm not going to take that away from it. And yeah, like the purpose is to combine with the Optimus, which I have to account for in this. The Optimus itself is dead solid. It's one of the best they ever did. And yeah, the fact that you didn't have to wait 6 months for another Ultra Magnus to come out to combine them, that was the right move. Yeah, Wave 1 of RID is just dead solid. Like, it's not doing anything wrong. In Japan, Car Robots failed to save the brand, and they shelved Transformers for 2 years until Hasbro and Takara came up with Armada, or Micron Densetsu in Japan. But it was just how successful this line was in America that kind of gave Hasbro the idea to continue doing Transformers and made them work with Takara in the first place, and kind of made sure that Transformers survived long enough to get to Armada. Like, we owe a lot to the fact that this line did really, really well in America, and the fact that it's Wave 1 is so good, I think plays no small part of that. So that's my answer right now. I think RID had the best Wave 1 in Transformers. You are free to agree or disagree. Obviously, there's a lot of lines that I missed, but you are free to debate them in the comment section below. I gotta go. So, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.